Next month, Suncrest is going to celebrate our 30th anniversary. It's kind of a milestone markers for us, and I can't wait to celebrate with you. We're going to have some really fun things that are happening around here, but it's caused me to think a lot about the past and how there are still dozens of households here who were with us in those early days. Our church started by meeting at Lake Central High School. We set up and tore down every weekend there for over 8 years, about 425 different weekends, if you're counting, right? And those early pioneers at our church, they were grinders, right? Just sacrificing, volunteering, giving, doing whatever it would take, not for themselves, but for a mission, a dream, really, to think, if we build a healthy church, then hundreds, maybe thousands of people could find Christ, could have a relationship with God in this place, and it would be a place for unchurched people. And of course, that's come to fruition. I love that they had that vision. But one of the things we were very aware of, even early on, is that we weren't doing this on our own. There was a small group of churches that had come together to help start Suncrest. They were giving us leadership, they were giving us guidance, and they were giving us an enormous amount of money in those early days. And we were just very aware, we couldn't do this without them. We're so grateful. And so we resolved, back when we were a young church, before we had our own building, all those sorts of things, to say, hey, just as these other churches have done for us, we will one day do that for more new churches. And it was just kind of a conviction that we had inside. And so we did. And before we ever built our first building, we helped a new church get started, and then a couple of more, and we saw those churches help start some other churches. And something shifted in us. It went from just being a conviction that it was the right thing to do to saying, wow, look at the impact. We've only started a few churches and they've started churches, but already there's more people at those churches than there are even at our church. And so it birthed a vision of mission and eventually a dream to think we could possibly impact up to 1 million people over our first 40 years if we're serious about investing and sacrificing and starting new churches and helping them to multiply. And I just want you to have a little update on how that's going at the 30-year mark. In our first 10 years as a church, we were poor and small. We didn't have two nickels to rub together, but we gave, and we started 5 new churches in those first 10 years as a church. Those are up there on the screen right now, just a map of those. In the next 10 years, we were able to accelerate it. We started 12 more new churches for a total of 17 churches at that stage, and started to go a little bit more around the world. And then in this last 10 years, get this, because of your generosity, just in the last 10 years, we've started 58 more churches for a total of 75 new churches. And we just, we love the vision of this. But one of the things that's very important to us is to say, when we look at people we would invest in to help starting new churches, we want to know they have a conviction inside of them to also start new churches. And we only choose to support new projects and new guys, new leaders who are going to start new churches if they have that conviction. And maybe the most important thing about this whole story is not that Suncrest has started 75 new churches, but that those 75 churches have started more than 700 churches themselves. And we just see this movement growing all around the world. Now, that's why I say to you that this gargantuan vision of 1 million people by our 40th anniversary is also absolutely a realistic vision. 10 years from now, we will have hit the accelerator. There will now be hundreds of churches that were started by Suncrest and thousands of churches that were started by those churches, and we are on pace for that.